SEC Kickoff with Vince Dooley is presented by PNC Bank for the achiever in you. Achievement is always in control. Find out how you can get control of your finances at pncvirtualwallet.com.
Hello, football fans. Welcome to a special Thanksgiving edition of SEC Kickoff. I'm Vince Dooley. Today we're previewing a huge rivalry week across the Southeastern Conference. Thanks to losses by Kansas State and Oregon, the SEC once again is in prime position for the BCS National Championship game. If both Alabama and Georgia win this week, the SEC Championship game would set up as a BCS championship semifinal game, and the Florida Gators are still in the mix as well. A big college football weekend is ahead. Let's jump right into the game previews.
There is no negotiation through life. It's one or the other.
A lot of jaw-jacking and gum-bumping going on down to the field.
Hometown reputation, state reputation. I mean, it's bragging rights for a year.
The hate is back. It's like, that's a hated game. I mean, two schools do not like each other at all.
Mississippi State against the School of North. I mean, that's the way. That's how we say. We don't say. We say the School of North.
Mississippi is divided. You have state fans here, state fans there, Ole Miss fans there, Ole Miss fans there.
In this state, you are either born a Gamecock fan or a Tiger fan.
If you play for South Carolina, I mean, you don't really respect Clemson. You can care less about them.
It's that time of year where LSU and Arkansas go down to the final seconds in the battle for the Golden Boot.
We put up a sign in our weight room, in our locker room, say never again, and it shows Cam Newton laughing at us.
Touchdown! Volunteers! They win! The streak continues! Oh, to the end zone.
He missed it! He missed it, and the Tigers win!
Touchdown at Church! 10-5! Can you believe it?
Well, the action kicks off on Friday when LSU and Arkansas get together in Fayetteville. It's been a rough season for Arkansas, but the Razorbacks will look to finish strong as they battle LSU for the Golden Boot. The game kicks off at 3:30 Eastern on Friday afternoon, and CBS will have the coverage. Well, there's been a history of some wild football games between these two rivals, but LSU will be a solid favorite to beat the Arkansas Razorbacks, who have had one of the most disappointing seasons in college football. Arkansas is 4-7 and not going to a bowl game the first time in a good while. Arkansas quarterback Tyler Wilson has also had a disappointing year, but he is still dangerous. And if LSU's defense is not playing to their capability, which does happen, anything can happen.
Foot race, being chased and not caught. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
LSU still has the incentive for a big bowl game and should hand the Razorbacks their 8th loss of the season. The Saturday SEC slate begins with Georgia Tech visiting Athens to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. The Dogs and Jackets kick off at noon Eastern on Saturday, and ESPN will have the coverage. Georgia Tech at Georgia. The toughest part of defending Georgia Tech's high-powered triple option offense is the lack of preparation time that teams have, since few teams run the option scheme today. Fortunately for Georgia, they got a full-speed look at the triple option playing against Georgia Southern's Wishbone that they held to 14 points and 318 yards. However, Georgia Tech runs the option to perfection. and has wrapped up huge yardages and touchdowns with controlling the clock, which will be a challenge to the nation's third-ranked football team. Another factor in the game will be the ability of the Bulldogs to stay focused with all of the fan excitement going around, thinking that history will repeat itself and Georgia will be playing once again in the championship game against Notre Dame, which they did in 1980. Coach Rick has worked hard all week keeping the focus on Georgia Tech. If Georgia is able to stay focused, they have enough manpower to beat Georgia Tech, whose team now is 6-5 and 5-3 in the conference and has backed into the ACC championship against Florida State thanks to Miami's self-imposed violation penalties. Over in the Western Division, Alabama is now back in control of its own destiny. Nick Saban must get his team past rival Auburn to set up a potential SEC championship battle with Georgia. For this week's Head Coach One-on-One, we sat down with Coach Saban.
I like it when the game starts. You know, I don't know if all coaches are this way, but you worry so much in those last couple hours before the game about all these ghosts that you should be defending, you know, or have gone over with the players. And the thing I hate most about coaches is when they go up to the players and say, you know, they might run this play, or watch out for the throwback to the quarterback, or whatever. And they're putting all these traps in a player's head right before. But that's what you're thinking as a coach. You know, did I cover everything I need to cover? We could lose the game on this particular play, and we didn't cover it. Now, they may not have run it for the last 50 years, but that's the kind of stuff. But when the game starts, you start focusing on the next play, the next situation, what you've planned to do in that circumstance, in that situation, and all that kind of goes away. So I like it when a game starts.
Well, Coach Saban clearly understands the importance of these big rivalry games. For this week's SEC Flashback, we're jumping back to 2010, the last time Auburn played Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
No first quarter touchdown since '96. Handoff. Now they can erase that mark.
Yeah, that's the one game that maybe the bye didn't pay off.
Yes. McElroy, he's got him wide open. Julio Jones, no flags, 68-yard touchdown. McElroy has Hanks, touchdown. Alabama, Darius Hanks. And Auburn. 2nd and 6. Goes deep, got a man open, wide open. Touchdown, Auburn. Emory Blake, number 80. Loss of 1. Newton back to throw deep, and he's got Emory Blake wide open. There was Barron, and Barron falls down. It's Zachary instead of Blake. 81 instead of 80. Zachary opens with a 70-yard touchdown catch. Newton has it. Touchdown, Tigers. Newton back to throw under some pressure, pulls up, has his man open. Caught! Lutson Kirkin. Auburn has claimed a tie in the ballgame.
What a comeback, one for the ages.
All of the turmoil, he leads his team from 24 down to a 28-27 victory in the Iron Bowl.
Well, this miraculous comeback was the springboard to Cam Newton capturing the Heisman and Auburn winning the national title. This week, the experts are predicting the Tigers will need another miracle to win in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. The game kicks off at 3:30 Eastern and will be televised on CBS. Here is my take on the 2012 edition of the Iron Bowl. Auburn versus Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Auburn, who is rounding out its worst season of football, is a huge underdog against Alabama. While rival games can be unpredictable, at times it is hard to imagine that will happen in this game. Number 2 Alabama is superior to Auburn in every phase of the game and should hand the Tigers their 9th loss of the season. And now, a word from our sponsor, PNC Bank.
Virtual Wallet can help you be that person who's good with money. See what's free to spend, move money with a slide, save with a shake. Feel good about your decisions.
Another big rivalry game that has national championship implications will take place in Tallahassee. Florida visits rival Florida State Saturday afternoon. The Gators need a victory to keep their faint title hopes alive. The game kicks off at 3:30 Eastern and will be televised on ABC. Florida at Florida State in Tallahassee. The good news for the Florida Gators is that their once-injured quarterback, Jeff Driscoll, is pronounced ready to play against Florida State. The bad news is that the Gators, whose offense is ranked among the worst in the conference, will go against a Seminole defense ranked among the best in the nation, and they play in Seminole territory. On the other hand, the Gators are battle-tested, playing against one of the toughest schedules in the nation, while Florida State has played a much weaker schedule, playing only one ranked opponent in Clemson. There are a lot of pluses and minuses in this rival matchup, but I like the Gators with their disruptive defense that causes turnovers, which is most always the difference in a tight, tough rival football game. Another game between top 10 teams will take place in Clemson's Death Valley on Saturday night. The Carolina Gamecocks and Clemson Tigers will renew their heated rivalry at 7 Eastern. ESPN will have the coverage as the Gamecocks look to flex their SEC muscles and spoil the Tigers' BCS Bowl aspirations. This is only the second time in history that both Clemson and South Carolina have been ranked in the top 13. Both teams have excellent records. Clemson is 10-1, South Carolina is 9-2. Clemson is ranked 12th, South Carolina is ranked 13th. South Carolina won 34-13 last year in Columbia. Both teams were 9-2 then. With South Carolina's star running back Marcus Lattimore out, Clemson definitely has more firepower offensively with their dynamic quarterback and wide receivers. However, South Carolina's defense is the best Clemson has played since Florida State, while Clemson's defense, on the other hand, has been porous all season. It looks like a toss-up with Clemson holding an edge playing at home. At the same time, South Carolina has the edge in the strength of the SEC schedule, and it will be interesting to find out how much of a factor that will be in this Palmetto State rivalry. For those of you camping out in front of the TV this weekend, here is the full SEC TV schedule. Well, fans, the final regular season edition of SEC Kickoff is in the books. I hope you and your family have a nice Thanksgiving and a great college football weekend. Be sure to join me next week as we focus on the SEC championship game. It appears the road to the national championship will once again run through the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. But first, SEC teams must survive rivalry weekend. Until next time, I'm Vince Dooley.
SEC Kickoff with Vince Dooley is presented by PNC Bank for the achiever in you. Achievement is always in control. Find out how you can get control of your finances at pncvirtualwallet.com.